Yo, welcome to
What up,
House
though?
Divided, the Big at 11 college football kickoff show. I'm excited because I don't have to sit here and worry about anything. I'm worry free this week. You know what I mean? Bye week feels pretty good. I mean, it's coming after a loss, but it's all good. I don't gotta worry about nothing. I could just sit here in
Oh,
my
good.
hoodie.
We take losses all the time. It's all good.
That's crazy. I didn't say that. I hope they're getting ready for the next few games. We've got I think Nebraska after this, so hopefully
Ah,
they're watching game tape and doing some stuff to improve Denzel Burke, but we'll see.
y'all got Nebraska next.
I think we got Nebraska next.
Ooh, and Nebraska got a big game against Indiana. They got big noon kickoff there.
They do. It's about
Okay.
time we figure out whether or not Indiana is the team we think they are. I
What
think
if
they've shown
they
improvement.
what if they beat Illinois? I don't see beat Indiana today, which would be a big win because Indiana's been rolling.
Yeah.
Then roll up on y'all, catch a fade, or run your fade.
If they beat
Ooh.
Indiana, even though we're not talking about this yet. If they
Nebraska, the
beat
dark horse in
Indiana,
the playoff.
I feel like their defense is as advertised, and it worries me a slight bit more, but not enough to worry that we're going to lose the game.
Well, if you say so, brother. Whatever,
Just
whatever
saying.
floats your boat.
Anyway, I have a bye week this week, but you just came off your bye week. I shouldn't
Sure.
say I should say we because it's not my bye week. But regardless, you guys came off of your bye week, and now you
Yep.
guys are facing Illinois. How you feeling about it?
Yes. That is our game. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the TV together here so I can have the games and everything situated. Yes, we had a bye week. First of all, don't let me start this thing off before to tell everybody to go ahead and like, share, subscribe. We're big at 11 kickoff show here on House Divided. We're here every Saturday at 11. Appreciate you all joining in. That all being said, the Wolverines are getting back on the field today. I don't know where my expectation level is right now.
Mhm.
There's going to be a lot that is going to come out of the first quarter of this game in terms of where my level of expectation is for the rest of the season. How effectively did we use the bye week? What is the plan now that now that Kirk Campbell seems to have has his guy that he wanted, or at least that seems to be the case.
Jack Tuttle.
Jack Tuttle. So let's see what that looks like. I think that the running game should be I think it'll be much improved. And the reason why is because it was already the strongest part of the team. Now
Mhm.
you just added a week of practice off, no games, to kind of fine tune that if they did what they were supposed to.
Right.
Right. That's if they went into the lab and worked on what I believe to be the strongest part of the team. For all I know, they went in there and put in a empty set for Jack Tuttle to throw out of. Who knows?
Sure.
But yeah, no. Illinois is going to present a few different problems. Right. The RPO offense, number one, Luke Ockmeyer has been playing pretty good this year. I mean, pretty damn good, honestly. 14 touchdowns to 1 interception is pretty efficient ball. Can't
Absolutely.
really ask for much better than that. The defense, like I said a couple of weeks ago, they've got some dudes over there. We'll see if they're able to hold up against the run.
Mhm.
But then again, I think that there is a certain part of the coaching staff that's very enamored with what the pass offense could be. So how disciplined are they in sticking to what's working
Yeah.
will be very key to me. Switching over to the defensive side, Wink, Wink Martindale is probably going to be high on my list of guys I'm looking at. Zeke Berry had one of the worst games by a Michigan DB in years against Washington. So it's kind of like fight or flight. I've heard people floating the idea of moving Will to the nickel. I
Mm.
think we're too thin at corner right now to be trying to do that with the injury to Amir Hall. I think that we just need guys to step up, right? We need guys to step up. We need guys to be in position. We need guys to compete at a higher level. And that's not where we were at 2 weeks ago against Washington, as evident as the lackluster performance they had just a week prior against Iowa. So I'm looking to see them play a complete game. I think I've seen Johnny talk about this in his pregame. I want to see them play from start to finish. I want to see them get up 24-3 in the first half and actually add to that in the third quarter. You know what I mean? Don't give up 2 third quarter scores that make it close and make you barely get out of there with your teeth. Like, I think there's a scenario here where you wrestle Illinois to the ground, you get up early, and you keep them there, right?
Yeah.
We haven't seen Michigan be able to totally complete that formula this year. So hopefully the bye week changes some of that.
Sure. I think we've seen 2 different Illinois. We've seen an Illinois that, beats Nebraska in overtime, and we've seen a Illinois that almost loses to Purdue. Mm-hmm. And so it's really tough to decide who this Illinois team is going to be. But because they are at home, and because I feel like they do want to prove themselves as one of the top teams in the Big Ten, and because of the inconsistencies that we've seen out of the offense specifically of Michigan, and then obviously, Luke Altmaier having a chance to do something crazy against you guys' pass defense, I'm going to side with Illinois in this case. But
ooh, wow.
But it's going to be a close one, and I did not put this in my parlay because I couldn't decide.
You know what, man? There was a time last year when some of these predictions wouldn't go our way necessarily, and I would look at people like, "Yo, what the hell are you talking about?" I mean, the skepticism is earned this year, so I'm not going to act as though there isn't any cause for concern or there isn't any. Just like looking at it objectively, like if anybody could reasonably see Illinois winning this game, they absolutely could. So, I'm going to rock with the boys on this one. I expect it to be a low scoring affair, a game in the 20s. 24-17 Michigan.
Ooh, 24-17?
Low scoring game.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, I think if you guys provide a little bit of consistency on either side of the ball, I'd feel more comfortable saying you guys might actually take this one.
I mean, hey, listen, it is what it is. We're in prove-it mode, so they'll just have to go out there and do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you guys did beat USC, so I guess I could give you guys the win, but
beat USC up 24-3 over Minnesota at half. I mean, even the USC game, they were up big. It just didn't. When it was all said and done, it didn't feel like they dominated large parts of that game, and they did. So, that's kind of the stuff that's hidden in a slow start to a season. But what you're left with is some pretty dominant periods of football and, pretty much the rest of the season ahead of you. You may need a little bit of help, but one conference loss, I don't think kills you. So they can't go into the tank. They kind of have to lean more on the things that have gone well for them this season and hope that grows more things as opposed to, belaboring on what hasn't gone right.
I mean, this is actually, now look at your schedule, this is kind of a must win for you guys. So
yeah, I mean, you lose 3 and now you're expecting chaos to ensue. Or you need chaos to ensue, which is not a great place to be in. So you like to still control your own destiny, and you do that by winning games. Honestly, it's the only thing you can do.
Yeah. Is Khalil Mullins going to have a big game today, or?
See, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I have not sat down and watched an Illinois game from start to finish this year yet, so I don't know how they are against great running backs. I know they lost to Penn State. I would imagine that, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton had something to do with that. But beyond that, I don't know what to expect in terms of them leverage against the run. If they do start to wilt early, I just hope that we stick with it. And, that just hasn't been the tendency so far this year. So I'm hoping that's something that maybe has gotten redirected in the buy or whatever. I just don't want to be so dependent on whether or not we're going to be successful on the back of our passing game this year. I just don't feel like that's the right path, but we shall see how it plays.
I got another question for you that's separate from the game. Just because I've been hearing a lot of rumors from Twitter about you guys successfully or potentially successfully trying to get Bryce Underwood to flip based on.
I'm so glad you asked me about this.
$4 million.
Well, so I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be all. If it was all four that was offered, there was $1 million from a rando on YouTube named Yoder, and then there was
Yoder.
You said you respect Yoder? Jesus,
I respect his trolling.
He's
an expert troller on Twitter.
That is insanity. But anyways, and then there was the $3 million that was offered by Dave Portnoy and Barstool.
Gross.
Here's I think what people are getting mistakenly caught up on, right? So what the offer was from Dave Portnoy was, here's $3 million to go get a quarterback. I didn't hear Dave Portnoy say not a single name. I didn't hear Dave Portnoy say, hey, here's $3 million to go get Bryce Underwood. That's number one. Like, I know that people are very like recruiting ranking oriented, and they believe that these services are going to tell you without a doubt 100% every time who the next guy is going to be. And right now that guy is Bryce Underwood. If you have a $4 million war chest, is it better served to spend that on a incoming freshman who's never played college ball, but could be one of the best, you've seen in a while. And he's an in-state talent as well. So that plays a big role. Mm-hmm. But is it better to spend money on him or the number one veteran transfer portal quarterback in the country? Let me put it into another perspective for you. Would you rather have Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, or Will Howard, or would you rather have DJ Lagway, who else? Dylan Raiola, who else is playing, or Michael Van Buren? All those guys are playing pretty well, by the way. They're all doing relatively well for true freshmen.
For sure.
Do you want to be where those three guys are at, or do you want to be where the other three are at?
So 2 potential Heisman candidates or developing quarterbacks who might not hit that stride until sophomore, junior year.
You have no clue whether or not they're going to be what they're going to be at all. You remember Jaden Davis was the number 1 player in his class as well at some point. It doesn't mean, I don't think it has that dollar value on it. Even if they were able to flip Bryce Underwood, I would hope they wouldn't give all $4 million to Bryce Underwood.
Makes sense.
I think that's like Shedeur Sanders money, and the boy hasn't thrown a single pass. What happens if it doesn't work?
Well, the market is already set by Nico Yamalieva. Okay. So $8 million before he threw a pass.
I guess we will see whether or not it was worth it tonight against Alabama, because I haven't really seen Tennessee beat somebody of note that impressed me thus far.
They just lost, didn't they?
I guess we will see whether or not that is, whether or not it was worth it to pay him all that money before he ever stepped on campus. And my thought is, you go after him as hard as you possibly can and try to flip him. You offer him part of that, and the rest of that NIL money is to spread amongst the other players that Bryce would bring, right? Like there are sure to be a slew of other players that need to come along with Bryce Underwood if he's going to flip. So if that's the case, Don't blow your wad on a true freshman who you've never seen play college, but you don't even know he's going to win the job. Hey, here's a thought. How about you take the $4 million, combine with what you already have in your war chest, get a veteran and Bryce Underwood, make them compete, and let that drive your performance in the quarterback room.
Okay, 2 questions to that. First of all, if they do that, where does Jaden Davis fit in all this?
Look, you asking a lot of questions. Where does Jaden Davis fit into it? Where does Brady Hart fit into it? Where does Carter Smith fit into it? Right? You've built your future of quarterbacks already. Your problem is a now problem. It's not a 3-4 years down the line problem. That problem is already solved. That is the one thing that we can say about Kirk Campbell so far is that he's taken care of that. He stocked our war chest as far as quarterbacks going forward.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that he didn't recruit the guys that he's working with now, and he's treating them that way. With the exception of Jack Tuttle, because he got Jack Tuttle to come over there when he was the quarterback coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Jack Tuttle is the only person on this roster that Kirk Campbell actually recruited. Other guys were Matt Weiss.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, it feels like the smart play is to take the money that Portnoy has offered and get a proven commodity. However, if Bryce Underwood is going to come with a bunch of other talented blue chips, you don't turn that away. I just don't think you spent $4 million on the kid and we literally have no proof. You know, have no proof. Yeah, no security at all.
Well, then my other question is, why wouldn't you just go for some sort of established, maybe even cheaper quarterback, and then get a receiver that he can throw to? Because it's not like you guys have the best receivers in the country either.
That's a fact. They're looking at Donovan McCulley right now out of the transfer portal. He just left Indiana. He's doing the whole I'm redshirting for the rest of the year, not playing shit. So that doesn't make me feel good about potentially bringing him on, but it is what it is. It's college football today. How much did UNLV say they were going to pay Saluka? $1 million?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So $1 million to Saluka, maybe $2 million to Bryce Underwood. Let's see. And then we roll the balls out and we see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at least at that point, if Jaden Davis comes out and beats them out both, nobody's butt hurt. We paid you what you said you were worth. We didn't promise you a starting spot. We paid you what you were worth. We didn't promise you a starting spot. Now, Jaden Davis earning a spot over both of those guys is going. His number is going to grow exponentially. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Right. If you give Bryce Underwood $4 million to come to Michigan, he's your starting quarterback. And you can't convince me or anybody else on that roster of otherwise. You know, there's no fake in that at all. That's a commitment. And I don't know if committing to a true freshman, no matter how good you think he's going to be, is the best way to fix the problem we're currently in.
Gotcha. Correction. Sluka was promised a $100,000 NIL deal.
That's it.
Yeah.
Fam, call Saluka. Shit.
Yeah. Yep. Verbally promised $100K.
Call Saluka at the same time. I'm like, listen, man, we want you to flip. So that's what the money is for. But the position has to be earned. Right. And we're not just going to leave the room how it is now for you to compete with that to win it. No. We're going to add you and we're going to add other pieces to make sure that iron is sharpening iron here to make sure that we get the best out of you.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Any other thoughts on Michigan, Illinois? Any other thoughts on just things going on?
Let's get to it. We spent too much time on us today already.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, do you want to talk about what happened yesterday at all with the Oregon-Purdue game that pretty much went how everybody kind of expected?
Yeah. So it was a weird game for me. That was the weirdest 35-0 blowout I've ever seen. Like, all right, so boom. Oregon comes out and it's big play city, right? They get up 14-0, then 21-0. But in the middle of those big plays is absolutely shit offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's penalties, it's turnovers, it's missed throws, it's near interceptions a couple times from Dylan Gabriel. It feels very much so for Dylan Gabriel outside of the Ohio State game, which was a very impressive game. It feels very much so bang or bust. If it's not deep over the top, if it's not deep crosser, if it's not, some trick play, it doesn't always look good. The most consistent thing that goes on that offense is Jordan James.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But they get into these lulls where they look bad. Like they look like a bad offense at times. I think back about the Michigan State game, right? Same kind of rhythm. Boom, we hit these big plays. We're walking up and down the field. The disparity. I got it's caught in between disparity and discrepancy. I was trying to say both of those at the same time. The disparity in total yardage is very prominent, but the points don't show it. We stuck on 14-0 because he didn't throw 2 picks in the red zone. Last night, they get up 14-0, and Purdue starts playing with them defensively. They almost pick off Dylan Gabriel a couple times. They just couldn't score. They couldn't do anything to score the ball, at all. Their offense is terrible. But I don't know what to think about Oregon, man. I really don't. At times, they were letting Purdue run the ball very effectively. Then they got pretty stout in the red zone. Their red zone defense is pretty good. But I don't know, man. It is very up and down for them. Like I said, weirdest 35-0 blowout I've probably seen in a while.
The fact that it's 35-0 and not 56-0 is case in point enough. But at the same time, that's kind of why I'm not afraid of playing Oregon yet again. As long as we can improve on the defensive side of things and maybe put in Jermaine Matthews instead of Denzel Burke. But then also it proves that we don't really know what to make of this Purdue team at times.
No, we know what to make of them. They're dog shit. Purdue? You talking about?
But they play up at times.
No.
And granted, they lost 35-0 in this case. But I've seen them play against some teams, and it's like, where did this Purdue team come from?
Nah, Purdue stinks.
It's almost the same way with Northwestern.
Northwestern has a winning record. Northwestern is 4-3.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like that's the type of team that I would give that benefit of the doubt to. Like I would
say obviously it's much more for Northwestern because they've actually won some of these games.
Yeah, I was about to say they finished.
But we still got half a season for Purdue.
Yeah.
I still think they're going to call in a losing season. I'm just saying I think they're going to scare some teams is all. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. They scared Illinois.
Teams, right. Some of that loser energy is going to rub off on us if we play them, coach.
Yeah. I just feel like there's at least one more game where they're going to be like, where did Purdue come from?
Well, sure. When you're looking to be a 1-win team in an entire season, then yeah, there's going to be an opportunity where like you're fighting for your damn life, and something good happens. The football gods look upon you. That doesn't mean that they're a good team. That just means that they were fortunate that day.
Well, I still like Devin Maccabee.
Yeah, he was decent last night
too.
No, Hudson Card is long gone. They're on to some other guy now. I don't know, number 15. Yeah. Okay. I think he may be down for the season.
Well, I like Hudson
I think that might be done.
That might be.
I think got a couple running backs that are good, but again, I'm not going to diagnose Purdue. They just suck. They stink.
No, I'm about to look at the schedule. I think they've got another team that they're going. It's not going to be us, but they might scare Penn State or Indiana at the end of the season. Just saying.
Oregon played their absolute best game against us. Yeah, I believe that, Ryan Sims.
I'm just going
to that's pretty accurate, I think. Because outside of the Ohio State game, they have just been a roller coaster. Like, honestly, if Purdue had a monicum of an offense last night, Oregon would have been in a dogfight. They'd have been in a dogfight because they don't keep that energy. They play so high octane. I think it's hard to maintain that level for 48 minutes. There is no settling into a game for Dan Lanning in Oregon. There is no, wait for the other team to make a mistake and take advantage of it. They don't play that way. It is balls to the wall from kickoff to the final whistle. And if you don't maintain that type of energy, that type of vigor through the entire game, you leave lulls, you leave opportunities for teams to come back.
Yeah, no, I'm actually in a complete agreement, and that makes me optimistic when we go play them in a neutral venue. Like
if you see them again, how are
Indianapolis.
you guys so confident? So confident. There are 2 teams you got to take care of before you even see them again.
Facts.
3 teams.
Facts.
Anywho,
we gonna win out the season, so it's okay.
Okie dokie. The only one
we got improvements. Anyway. We got clear improvements we got to make. I don't want to make it seem like we're just good to go as is, but we'll see them again.
All good. Who's up next?
UCLA at Rutgers. Obviously, UCLA is not looking like that team.
Another dog doo-doo program. Competing with Purdue for the worst ever.
For sure. And Rutgers has been playing decent football. They just haven't. They've run into some games where, I'm sure they wish they had those back. And so I think this is a game where they're going to look to obviously win, and it's at home. They're looking to prove that they can, dominate some of these teams. So UCLA, unfortunately, is going to be that team that they're going to take out some of their anger on.
For sure. Yeah, no, I got Rutgers by a mile. I don't see that even being close. It's going to be one of the only blowout wins of the season for Rutgers.
Yeah, for sure. Wisconsin at Northwestern. Looking at this game maybe a few weeks ago, I probably would have been like Wisconsin easy. Well, actually, no, because Wisconsin was looking bad for a little while too. I don't know. It's Northwestern at home. Northwestern has looked good in some games and terrible in some games. So are we going to see a Wisconsin team that's going to go in there and blow them out, or are we going to see a Wisconsin that
who's at home? It's at Camp Randall?
No, it's at Northwestern.
Oh, it's in Northwestern. Okay. Yeah, man. I think Northwestern is closer to a team with an actual identity than Wisconsin is. They have an actual identity. They know who they are. They're not trying to be what they're not. And Wisconsin is still stuck in this weird place where everything about their personnel says, God, please run the football. And they have the offensive coordinator from North Carolina, Ongo, right? He's a passing, spread it out type of guy. So they're in an identity crisis. I wouldn't want to see a budding team when I'm having an identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Northwestern. I'm going Northwestern in that one.
Look at Northwestern trying to get from under the recent Fitzpatrick scandal and make their way back to a promising young team
to the promised land. Yeah. Hey, real quick, everybody. Before we take the next game, go ahead, give us a like in the chat. Definitely appreciate that, so we can get some more people in here to watch and enjoy. And also, y'all give us your thoughts as we're going through these games. I'm gonna do better about reminding, but give us your takes on all of these games as we're going through as well.
Feel free to engage, especially if you're from any other fan base. We love to see takes from other fan bases because we don't get to see all these games.
So yeah, give me Northwestern by 2 scores.
2 scores?
Give me Northwestern by 2 scores.
I'm not mad at taking Northwestern, but you think Northwestern's that good?
They can get a 10 ball off on Wisconsin, yeah.
Okay. 10 ball, that's not bad. That's not bad.
Maybe I'm being a bit overconfident. I just like Northwestern as a team more than I like Wisconsin right now.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. I just feel like Luke Fickell has that team underperforming. And again, like you said, they don't really have an identity. So it's hard to really decide what they're going to do against Northwestern when they look different every time. So
sure.
I don't know. We'll see. All right. Nebraska at number 16, Indiana.
Big noon kickoff.
This is a really tough one to call for me, considering Nebraska's defense has looked legit at times. But meanwhile, Rourke out in Indiana, Kurt Signetti's got him looking like a guy at quarterback. So, their offense seems pretty high-powered. But they haven't really played
I'm so close to calling this a prove it game for Indiana, right?
Oh,
but
sure.
then I look across the field and it's like, here's another team who's also trying to quote unquote prove it.
Sometimes those be some good games.
This is going to be an awesome game because they're both at the precipice of taking that next step into the upper echelon of the Big Ten, right? No one gave Kirk Cignetti in Indiana even a chance. I think a lot of people got excited about what was going on in Lincoln with Dylan Raiola flipping there.
Yeah.
They predicted Kirk Cignetti was going to come in 17 out of 18 in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cignetti is undefeated. Kirk Cignetti has beaten a good Rutgers team. So even though that's not necessarily like Rutgers was most people's dark horse pick to make the playoff out of the Big Ten, right? So it's not a traditional power, and they won't face one today. That what they have today is more like Rutgers than an Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, something like that. There's still potential here to kind of stamp your season in that whoever comes out of this is going to, well, first of all, you're bowl eligible, right? So that defies the odds in itself.
Right.
I think Cignetti is already they're 6-0, so they'll be 7-0 for probably the first time since like the 60s. And then Nebraska coming in at 6-1 with this freshman quarterback would be amazing. Mm-hmm. So they both have a lot to play for. They both got a lot to prove. I do expect it in the early parts of this game there to be a lot of turnovers because that hasn't been the MO for Indiana. That it at times has been the MO for Nebraska, but both of them are going to be playing at such a high level and they're not used to it. They're not used to this type of game. When is the last time Nebraska or Indiana was involved in this type of matchup at this point in the Big Ten season?
And Indiana playing Penn State when they have Michael Penix.
Or Indiana playing,
Ohio
State. That was earlier in the season. So, yeah, Indiana playing Penn State when they had Michael Penix. That was like 5 years ago.
It was a minute ago.
So, yeah, man, I'm excited for this game, actually. I think that's going to play out well. But early on, I expect there to be some mistakes because they're not used to being in that position. Neither one of these teams are used to being in this type of game at this point in the season. Indiana's supposed to be like 4-3 right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nebraska's supposed to be at least 4-2. They ain't supposed to be 5-1. So
facts. So I completely agree with that. I think we're looking at two teams who are fighting for a couple things here. Obviously, in the Big Ten right now, we've got teams who we predicted to be maybe slightly behind Penn State. So we're talking Maryland. We're talking at sometimes Michigan State, but not this year. Wisconsin. Right. So we're talking about fighting for, first of all, the future of the Big Ten. So like a team who's going to be in that conversation right behind Ohio State, potentially Michigan, and I guess Oregon as well. And so that's one thing that they're fighting for. But also, we're talking about playing a decent bowl game, right? Like not obviously a bad boy mowers bowl, but like something higher than that, or potentially even seeing the playoffs, right? Like they're number 16 Indiana. If they continue and hopefully win 10 wins, they might be able to see, playoff hopes. I don't know if it goes that far, but
yeah,
that's kind of what they're fighting for. They're fighting for 8 wins versus 10 wins.
10 wins, yeah, which is a huge difference. 10 wins get you in the conversation for the playoffs. So,
yeah, and so it's exciting. Indiana's already kind of proved against Rutgers. Nebraska's already proved against some of these teams. So this is one of them ones for sure.
Yep. Let us know who you got in the big noon kickoff matchup here between Nebraska and Indiana today.
Facts. All right. USC at Maryland.
Oof.
Maryland just hasn't been that team this year.
Yeah, I was about to say both of these teams need to win bad. There's no way USC should have lost that game to Penn State last week. James Franklin and Lincoln Riley were having a who can lose this game better competition.
Which is kind of what I thought going into that game.
And Lincoln Riley lost. Not James Franklin won, but Lincoln Riley lost. Yeah. It was very frustrating to watch that they had a lead in the fourth quarter And some guys are just allergic to bleeding clock, man. They just can't sustain a drive. They can't pick up first downs on the ground to keep the ball from the other team. Like Drew Aller should not have had that many opportunities to throw to his tight end. It's not. I can understand if they came out there, got the ball back right before end of regulation and threw a bomb to Julian Fleming all the way down the sideline or something like that. And you tip your cap to him because it was a great play. Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
They whooped your ass in the last 5 minutes of regulation and through overtime with the tight end.
Yep.
I didn't even think dude was all that good. I didn't even think 44 was all that good.
Facts.
So, that was very disheartening. They need a win. Maryland, on the other hand, is facing the abyss. I think if they lose one more, so probably this one, people are going to start chirping a bit. People are going to start that conversation is going to start because this is not year 3. It's not year 5. This is like year 7 for Loxley.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to see 3 and nobody wants to see 3 and 9 in year 7.
Yeah.
So there are going to be some pretty tough conversations going on in the DMV area here pretty soon if they're not able to pull this one out. And honestly, I don't want them to pull it out because I can't have USC continue to lose games and distort my idea of how good Michigan is. So I knew that they were going to struggle in the Big Ten. I picked them to be one of the teams that was going to struggle them in UCLA. Mm-hmm. I think the other teams have played in conferences that have similar play styles, like Lanning and Jed Fish out in Washington, obviously with being the former offensive coordinator here in the Big Ten at Michigan. So yeah. I always thought that they were going to struggle. I didn't see them. I didn't see us being in week 8 talking about whether or not they can beat Maryland. That's not a conversation I thought that we were going to be having, but we are.
We are.
All that being said, give me USC. It's going to be a tight one, though. It is going to be a tight one.
Yeah, no, I agree. One question I had for you is that obviously at the end of the USC Penn State game, James Franklin stopped one of his players from planting the flag midfield. And I just felt like he knew, like, yeah, we escaped with this one. So, like, put this flag up.
Not only that, it's kind of overdone now. Like, it's played.
Very overdone.
It's definitely played. It's like the turnover celebrations. It's hella played now. Y'all should just let people have their stuff. And now everything is played out. Y'all all doing the same stuff. So, it is what it is. I think that, my pipe dream is still alive. For all those that know, and it'll only strengthen probably after this week.
Okay, we'll see. We will see. Okay, Iowa at Michigan State. This is another one I was kind of conflicted on, just because I feel like Michigan State is really vying for a win here. They played some of the top teams in the Big Ten and obviously couldn't get it done. But I feel like they're going to try to fight for one. They're at home in this one. But Iowa just seems like they're the better team to me.
Michigan State's a young team. They got a first-year starter. They have weapons, right, with Glover and Marsh. They're not nearly consistent enough, and they turn over the ball. So that is a recipe for a disaster versus Phil Parker. I don't see this being a very productive day for Childs. The running game has been wildly inconsistent with Michigan State. Just not enough. Not enough consistency, not enough leaders on the team, not enough to go to. They're going to Iowa City, or is this in Lansing?
Lansing.
Okay. Well, that helps. That'll help keep it competitive. Even still, I don't think that they have enough plays or they do enough to negate what is sure to be mistakes made versus Phil Parker's offense. I don't think Childs is far along enough to really dice up that kind of defense. He hasn't beaten much simpler concepts this season. So I have a hard time seeing him being successful versus that defense today.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan Simmons here. He says he's got Iowa. He thinks that the
Mm-hmm.
defense is going to force few turnovers. They get up 14 and just run out the clock. Yeah,
That's the
I agree.
recipe.
I agree. I mean, Aiden Childs is obviously turnover prone, and the Iowa defense is just too good. I think that is the way that they win this one.
Yep.
But I do see Michigan State attempting to play up a little bit. And I believe that if Aiden Childs is given a year or two to kind of develop and get up out of these hopefully turnover woes,
Mm-hmm.
I think he can develop into a workable quarterback in the Big Ten.
Oh no, for sure. He's young. This is first year starting. He's a true sophomore, I believe. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot to take in. Now, again, true sophomore. So this is his second year in college, and he's never started. And you can see some positives, but there's also a lot of things to work on. It is not as quick as snap your fingers, get the highly touted 5-star in here, and everything's going to be okay. So yeah, I mean, I think that's it for the games. Also, go ahead, give us your thoughts on Iowa and Michigan State there.
Last thing I was going to say about Iowa, Michigan, or Aiden Childs specifically, is just that he's been playing in the Big Ten with Wolves too. So
he's got a tough go of it here early.
He hopefully breed some good habits down the line. It's not doing it this year, but
they're halfway through the season. He's already played Ohio State, Oregon. Who did they play?
He's going to be playing Iowa.
He's going to be playing Iowa this week. I think they play somebody out of conference good too.
I think they did too. Hold on, I'm pulling it up right now.
Escaping me.
Boston College, Prairie View, Maryland, and Florida Atlantic. So no.
Boston College beat them though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say Boston College beat them. All right. So what other games we got here? We got Texas, Georgia today.
Yeah.
Texas, Georgia.
Yeah. That one, I think Texas starts to win early, and because they're better than Bama, they sustain the lead throughout the entire game. And they're at home. They feel comfortable. They've got the weapons to do it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. So give me Texas. Texas. Yeah. I think Georgia has already shown some chinks in the armor a few times this year. Auburn, Alabama,
Kentucky, Bama.
Yeah. So it's going to be a tough game, right? They're not just going to go quietly into the night, but I think all in all, Texas has played a little bit cleaner this year, right? You're not just going to find your way out of the holes that Georgia has found their way out of so many times this year versus good teams. Texas reminds me so much of our team last year. It's crazy. And honestly, maybe not even last year, probably more like 2021 when we had Cade. Even though Ewers is worlds better than Cade, it's just the fact that the setup with the quarterbacks, right? You got the young talent, you got the old wily vet that's still playing well, winning games, just kind of trudging along. Now, hopefully this isn't their Michigan State. All right, like their 2021 Michigan State, but I just don't see that, man. They've been playing really, really well. I'm extremely impressed with what Sark has put together down there. They look like the most dangerous team in the country to me, most complete team. So I'm going Texas, and I would not be shy by saying that they maybe get 2 scores on it. Maybe. By the way, Georgia's been playing compared to how Texas has been playing. If Texas plays to their potential, they could beat Georgia by 2 scores.
My only hesitation to agree with that right away is that their only big win was Michigan.
Yeah, on the road at the Big House. That's very good.
And so, well, they're going to be at home. Okay, I guess I can agree with that.
I mean, so again, if this is a prove it game for everybody, then they're the best, right? Because I mean, we know Georgia's at least as good as Alabama, and that would be their only other comp in the conference.
This is where I was leading this comment right here. Potentially.
Okay.
But not
All right.
super hype, not like they're playing way above expectation or not like they're playing way below expectation. I guess I
I
should
think
say.
they're a
But
bona fide number one.
I
That's how I
think
got 'em.
they're a solid team. They've got weapons everywhere, offense, defense, you name it. But they just haven't played the teams yet, I guess.
Yeah, okay. Well, prove a game then. Prove a
But
game.
I do think they can beat Georgia handily. So there's that. I know that sounds weird, but
I mean, no, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, you guys let us know in the chat as well where you're leaning. Alabama, Tennessee. I
we talked
think
a little bit about that.
DeBoer is going to take a sledgehammer to Heupel's face. I think he is going to smash Rocky Top into pieces.
You know, that game is interesting because it's basically Bama's offense versus Tennessee's defense. Like I said before, Tennessee's offense has struggled a little bit in the last few games. And then, you know, Bama's got a decent defense, but they've been known to let teams creep back in there. So
it worries me. The last 2 weeks have worried me, right? Like the Georgia comeback and then the Vanderbilt loss. It worries me, but that also tells me that they're going to be extremely motivated. And I just don't. I've watched Tennessee beat Alabama one time in the last 20 years. I feel like.
Yep.
That might not even be accurate, but that's what it feels like.
Sure.
Okay. So now we know how good that defense is at their top level. Mm-hmm. Are they going to be consistent versus Tennessee? Well, they have a whole lot of motivation. Yeah. Got a hell of a lot of motivation this week. So maybe the defensive lapses rears its ugly head again this season, but I don't think it's going to be this week. I have a hard time believing it's going to be this week.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I want to call it. Tennessee does have home field advantage. And I don't have as much faith in Bama to say, yeah, they're definitely going to win this one. Like, it's up in the air for me.
I do offensively. What they've shown me in those two games versus Vanderbilt and Georgia is that they can a nap for a half. Yeah, they'll go to sleep for a nap. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't see
defense is pretty good
holding up against Milroe and Ryan Williams and all of them. No, either. I just don't.
Tennessee got some good defense.
Yeah, let me see. Let's see.
I think they're top 10 against the run, if I'm not mistaken. They are top 5 against the run. They're number 5 against the run. Let's see. Passing yards allowed. They're number 19.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, they're getting it done. Let's see scoring defense. They're number 4 scoring defense. Like they're getting it done.
They're getting it done.
I feel like they're getting it done on the defense.
Chattanooga, North Carolina State, Kent State, Oklahoma, who's struggling this year.
Sure.
Florida, Arkansas
has been playing good football this year compared to some of those other names you named. You named Florida.
You just sat up here and told me all of these top 5 stats about Tennessee.
Right.
Does that sound like top 5 output to you?
You still have to
Chattanooga, North Carolina State, Kentucky, Arkansas, and Florida?
North Carolina State. Who else did you say? Let me see this.
Chattanooga, Kent State, Florida.
Let me see this.
I'm going to make the defensive stats look real great versus Chattanooga, Kent State, and Florida.
Regardless, they're still going to defend well against Alabama.
We'll
I don't know why we're acting like they're. I don't know why we're acting like they're not going to defend well.
We will find out today. We'll find out today.
Let's see Alabama's.
Josh, as you see their schedule thus far, do you see another team that's like Alabama, even close offensively?
No,
like not even in the same stratosphere.
No.
That's why we're acting like they may not be able to defend Alabama.
No, but that's not they're still a good defense. I'm not saying they're obviously a top 5 defense for some reason, right? Obviously, they haven't played
because
many
they
people.
run up
They
the
haven't
numbers
played many
versus
people.
bad offenses. Maybe.
Well, running up the numbers would be a offensive thing.
No. Defensive stats mean that you run up the numbers by getting tackles for loss, holding them to low yardage. If you do that versus bad teams, you'll have high numbers.
Right, but if you run up the numbers against them, like a 71 is indicative that you could also score against that team.
So wait, okay. Give me what are you telling me right now? Are you saying that they're good or bad on in total defense right now? Tennessee. I thought you told me that they were ranked top 5 in total defense.
They are.
Okay. So if that is the case,
they're needing to prove elite status, but they're still a good defense.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that, I guess.
They're a good defense.
I don't know if they're a good defense. I don't consider beating any of the SEC teams they beat good defense, and they played absolutely no one on the out of conference. So I don't know if they're a good defense or not. But if they hold Alabama to a respectable mark, something under 30, then I'll tip my cap to them. Okay. If they go out there and get boat race for 35 to 40 points, are we going to say that they're a good defense still? Given that all of their good statistics came versus group of 5 teams, MAC teams, and the bottom of the SEC?
How many times has Bama scored under 40 points?
But my point is a good defense should be able to get them under their average, right?
Right.
Okay, so if they don't, them at 30, then we'll know.
If they keep them at 30 to 35, is that not still a good defense? Considering they've only had one game under 40 points?
Okay.
It's not elite, but it's
They gave up. Hold on. They gave up 3 points to Chattanooga. They gave up 10 to North Carolina State. They gave up 0 to Kent State. They gave up 15 to Oklahoma. They gave up 19 in their loss to Arkansas. So I don't even know why we're talking about Arkansas. They lost.
They're the best team they played.
Right, and they lost.
Right.
Best team they played, and they lost. Florida, they gave up 17, right? So if they come out and give up 35 points to Alabama, that will be double, almost 35 to 40 will be almost double their next closest output the entire season.
That would be the second.
So yeah, I would say that they were falsely inflated at that point. Yeah,
they've given this season.
The biggest output that they've given up is 19 points to Arkansas. So if they double that and give up 40, I'm going to say that they were probably overrated.
I'm talking about Bama's offense. That would be the second lowest. That would be the second lowest output they put out all season.
Your glass half full in it, and I guess you can do that if you change the perspectives.
Well, no, I'm not saying they're an
but if we're
defense,
asking,
they're a good defense.
If we're asking the question whether or not Tennessee is a good defense, then I'm going to judge based off of what Tennessee has put up, not based off of what Alabama. We already know Alabama's a good offense, right? Saying that they're averaging close to 40 points a game says they're a good offense. So that's neither here nor there. 35 will still win them a game. So if you let them score 35, you're going to lose probably.
Okay.
You're more than likely going to lose. Okay. So if they give up 35, where the most that they've given up is 19, I'm going to say that the defense was probably overrated.
I think they can be overrated and good at the same time.
Well, obviously, overrated denotes that you're not as good as people thought.
As good as, yeah, right.
I don't think it's worth mentioning how good you are in that respect.
So a top 5 ranking would lead to believe that you're elite.
I don't think they're either.
But I don't think they're elite.
We'll see. I don't think they're elite. I don't think they're good. I think they are going to have to prove it to me. We'll see.
I think they're a good defense. But we'll see. Like you said.
Similar to our defense when we're going against Oregon again.
I still feel like we have a good defense. No.
Okay, but okay.
We need to get more pressure, and Denzel Burke needs to stop.
Like you feel like you have a good defense? It's good?
Good. There's much improvement needs to be made, but it's still good. If we want to be elite like we want to be, we need to make these improvements. But we're a good defense.
If I went through the first quarter of my season playing in the MAC and the bottom of the Big Ten, and then I faced a team that I expected to compete with for the Big Ten title, and not Ohio State being a good team, because they certainly competed in that game. It was a great game. But defensively, couldn't have that much confidence that we were good.
Defensively is where it all fell apart at.
Right. But my point is to say that we're still good defensively. Like, how does it not make you question whether or not what you've seen in those first couple of games is actually real? Or if it was just the talent discrepancy that was giving you that advantage? Because the first time you faced like talent, they did whatever they wanted. Whatever. We want to run the ball. We want to pass the ball. We want to run it with Gabriel. We're going to run it with a couple of different running backs. Whatever they wanted, they did. And you guys didn't affect it at all.
Right. So, again, I guess we're talking about the difference between elite and good. And on top of that,
good
we played,
in any of that I just described.
But we played a number 2 team.
But you were number 3. That's not supposed to.
Sure.
It's not supposed to be that demonstrative if you're number 3.
But with number 3, you would think you would have an elite defense.
I mean, not necessarily.
And I don't think we have an elite defense.
I think you think you're an elite team. Being top 5 doesn't denote that any specific part of your team is elite. You could just be elite as a team, right? You can have an elite defense. You can have an elite offense, but it doesn't say specifically what you're elite at if you're a top 5 team. Not every top 5 team has an elite defense.
Sure, but what top 5 team is literally world-class at offense, but
dog shit on defense? Georgia.
Whenever they want at will.
Georgia this year. Their top 5 and their defense was Swiss cheese against Alabama in the first half. Alabama is top 5. Alabama's defense was Swiss cheese versus Vanderbilt.
Neither one of those teams.
We can't fake the funky. You are what you are. Your ranking doesn't determine what my eyeballs are seeing on the field. If you're bad, you're bad.
I don't think our defense is bad. It definitely needs improvement. For sure. If we're going to be that team that we think we are, it needs improvement to get there, right? But I think it's a good defense.
Maybe what you're trying to say is that you have good pieces. Maybe what you're saying is that they have the potential to be good. But that performance we saw on Oregon, if you would have just sent me the tape on that game alone and nothing else from the rest of the season, I would say it's a bad defense. It's a team that has elite offensive weapons and has good pieces on defense, but they're bad. The culmination of them, how they're being deployed, how they are playing, they're bad right now. Now, you can show me tape of Akron and Marshall, and things would look a lot differently, obviously, right? But obviously, we know that that's not like talent. If you play really, really good versus the talent discrepancy, but when it gets even, the bottom falls out, like not just that you give up a few big plays. Consistently from quarter 1 to quarter 4, big plays were on the table for Oregon. Run game was on the table for Oregon. Sitting back in the pocket, 7 step drops were on the table for Oregon because you weren't getting pressure. If that is the case, when it's like, I'm seriously questioning. Maybe that's not the final determination for the whole season, but I'm seriously questioning whether or not it is what it is. I went through the same thing. We went through the same shit.
I guess my problem is you say when it's like, and like for us is Texas and Oregon, right? So if we're playing most other teams, the defense is going to get it done against those teams, right? And I'm talking about like outside of the top 5, right? If we're playing Penn State, that defense is going to get it done, and we can say that Penn State is a good team. Their offense is obviously what it is. But they've got a great backfield. They've got a good running back room.
Yep.
And I think Ohio State gets it done against that team, as is. but they don't get it done against the Texases and the Oregons, and there's that room for improvement to become elite.
Can we call it average? Like, can we say that there's a baseline, and then when you get to come elite, then that's when we can start saying, oh, how good you are and how great you are.
Like, so then we're going to make the jump from average to elite? Like,
well, but see, that's my argument. I think average teams do what Ohio State did. They beat up on lesser talented teams, and then when the talent gets even, they show their deficiencies. That's what I think an average team does. So do I think you can go from average to elite in a season? No. But that also determines what your expectations were. Can they get from average to good? Yeah, they can do that.
Okay. So you just said that maybe they have good pieces. Maybe it's they are good. They are underperforming at times.
Which means they're what? You are the sum of your play. So if you're underperforming and you're underperforming from good, means you're what? Average is what you're trying to say.
But you're a good defense, though.
No, stop.
You're playing. You're a good defense, but you're playing. You're playing below your.
If you haven't played that way versus a good team, then you can't say that you're good. Until they show it. Now, if they go out there versus Penn State,
until they show it.
Yeah, I was about to say, if they go out there versus Penn State and they pitch a shutout, which they usually do, and that there's a little bit of fool's gold in there as well. But I will back off a bit. I'm just saying
that's fair.
Average defense is definitely on the table for them this year, right now.
But then you can say they can go from average to elite.
To elite?
If they start playing they're playing at a below.
Because we just got done talking about how we don't really have confidence in Penn State's offense. And Penn State loses to Ohio State like it's the religion. So if you somehow beat Penn State and it looks good, there's fool's gold in that because, well, you do this every year.
But that's Penn State. What if it's Indiana? Indiana has a high-powered offense. If we can limit that, do they not look better?
Okay, here's the ramp-ups, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll go from Indiana to Penn State to Michigan. And each step of those, right, will grow my confidence, I guess, in the Ohio State defense. And then if you eventually get back to the Big Ten championship, like y'all think is going to happen, and beat Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, I'll give you your okay, Ohio State had an elite defense. But that is the type of turnaround that we've not seen in a college football season from any defense in some time. I don't even remember when I've seen something like that. So, yes.
I just want to say I agree.
Random occurrence of events happen just like that, and that's how it plays out for Ohio State. Then I will take all these words back.
Okay. I agree with Ryan. It's not Penn State that would be the barometer. It would be a team
it wouldn't.
It would be a team like Indiana, though. Can we agree with that? Being that they're after we see what they do against Nebraska.
I was about to say, what if Indiana lays an egg today versus Nebraska?
Right. Then it's like, oh, well, we don't have that many other opportunities. It's not.
That's why I said, well, it'll start with It'll start with Indiana. With us, it has nothing to do with personnel, right? It is, y'all have a mental hurdle to get over with us.
No.
There's no one on your team that's beating us other than your head coach.
I'll give you that. Right?
So it's a mental hurdle with us. But with Indiana and Penn State, it will be a legitimate test to the defense. Penn State, though, just feels like a gimme because they can never finish the game, the job versus y'all. So I don't know.
I will say this in closing: we don't really have any other opportunities against great offenses for the rest of the season. So,
other than Indiana, I would say
I'll tell you the rest of the schedule. It's Nebraska, Penn State, Purdue, Northwestern, Indiana, Michigan.
All right. Well, we are over on time. I know they're probably singing the anthem right now.
For sure.
Before y'all guys get out of here, go ahead, guys and gals, if we got any gals in the chat, go ahead, smash the like button, smash the subscribe. We appreciate y'all coming through. We will be back here on Tuesday for 30-minute rivals. And then we will be back next Saturday for another kickoff show. Shout out to J.O. Y'all follow Johnny Oden at his page. Send him some well wishes. He's on his way back home today. And we appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button and that like button, boy. We out.